How is it to be in a relationship with another entrepreneur?
It's great, man. We're both alphas, which is great, but she gives me my space, and we've got a great balance in our relationship. We both have passion. We both have a lot of energy. We're thinking about and talking about events. We're talking about how we can make ourselves and our companies and the people that work for us better.
Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Look at me, habibi. Dubai Jeep, let's get it. Bags, expensive.
Don't touch me. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. No, I have to back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up.
Welcome to an episode of Stroke of Success Podcast. It's your favorite host, KB. Today's guest is someone special. I came across this guest on social media months ago, and I'll go in the backstory of that. This gentleman in front of me has shown many years in the trenches building his business. He's a pioneer of the community. He's well respected. He's a father. He's an entrepreneur. He's a son. He's a fiance. He's my good friend. So welcome, Sanjay Srinivasan from Global Promo. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much, KB.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, let me just share the story with my audience, how we came across. It's a funny story. Individual named Vic Tippiness. I follow him. His story is remarkable. He was at Orlando at a game with two gentlemen on the court side. It was you and someone else. I'm like, man, who's this guy next to him? And the funny thing is, people say social media is bad, and it depends how you use it. From my entrepreneur journey, from stroke, from my med spa to my real estate career to my podcast, social media has helped me leverage so many relationships like you can't imagine. Case in point. And so I reached out to you, and like most people, hey, stranger reaching out, like, hey, you're in Orlando, I'm in Orlando, and you're probably busy, like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, by the way, I'm going to see you at the RiceCon. And like, yeah, we'll see you in RiceCon. And we were walking out at the restroom, and we bumped each other. We had a few words. Your beautiful fiancée, Sarah, was there. And I shared my story about my stroke with you. And then you shared your dad's story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, that first and foremost, I mean, one of the most powerful things is social media, and an offshoot of that was RiceCon. Yeah, Vic, one of my best friends in the world, that's what that event's all about, right? Interacting with folks and networking and being around leaders and like-minded individuals, right? So that was great. But yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you, and just very, very fascinated with your story as well. And congratulations on your success and your emergence back, and captivating a lot of audiences and doing it selflessly, which I admire and I respect. So keep it up, man.
Coming from you, that means a lot. Sanjay, as we met and I started doing my research on you, and this podcast has been in process for us, we've been talking about it since then. I've came to learn that you are a household name here in Central Florida. Yeah. I've talked to many physicians. I have a lot of physician friends. My wife's a physician, and your name comes up often. I mean, some of my friends, like fanboys of yours, like, oh, we go to the same gym as Sanjay. He comes in 6 o'clock in the morning. So, what's interesting to me, you're so humble with that.
Well, I mean, look, I've been blessed to know a lot of people, and I grew up here. I spent a lot of time in the Central Florida area, and I tell you, it's an honor to have and a privilege to know so many people, and and it's one of those things that I don't try. It's not one of those things that I go out. My objective in life is to network and go meet people. It just happens organically.
Yeah.
And I've been a firm believer in that approach. I've just never went over and above trying to be anybody or meet people or whatever it is. But, it's certainly an honor, and, it's a privilege to know so many great individuals. And, I feel lucky. I feel blessed by that, right? And again, it's that age-old saying is not what you know, it's who you know.
100%.
And again, you want to leverage that within reasons, right? Within bounds, right? 100%. You don't want to, overstep your relationships in any facet under any circumstances. But it has been an honor, and it continues to be an honor.
Yeah, man. Listen, and nothing but amazing stuff. Like not once. You sometimes you hear a little bit, some not so pleasant feedback. Like you're a 10 for 10, man.
No, I appreciate that.
Quarter for you. Vic Tippiness, your boy, amazing guy. We got to see him. We got to meet with him, his wife, beautiful wife. Met your beautiful fiance. Great weekend. Let's get into your story, man. I'm fascinated. We walked in your operation today. Thank you for welcoming me in there, walking me through your operation. I didn't think, Sanjay, honestly, when I did this research, I thought you were huge, but not as big as I saw with my own eyes today. So I'm going to break into that as well. Let's start with where you're from. Where you born?
Yeah, I was born in Los Angeles. My family migrated here from India, so I'm first generation Indian American. So my father migrated here to do his.
What part of India? Sorry.
He's from South India. We're all from South India, which is the southernmost tip of India, which is a beautiful. It's Tamil Nadu, and it's Tirunelveli, which is a small village.
Okay.
It's now getting to be a bigger city. They call it one of the estates there, but they're from South India. They migrated here for my father to pursue his master's degree at Texas Tech University. So after he pursued and accomplished and completed his master's degree, he moved to L.A. to start with an engineering firm. Where I was born, and so Los Angeles is still is my place of birth, but Central Florida, in particular, Orlando's home, man. So I moved here, started high school.
Wow.
So moved here my freshman year of high school, went to Dot Phillips High School, and then went to college at UCF and grad school, and never left. Ever since high school, never left beautiful Orlando, and fascinated with the city and loved the growth of the city. Kind of grew with the city. So and now we're one among the bigger cities in the country, emerging market, and again, I think that now when we talk through Orlando, it's not just Orlando anymore, right? You've got Sanford and all the other greater Orlando areas, and now into Tampa. So I really like Central Florida and consider Central Florida my home.
Indian background, South Indian especially, very very hardworking individual. India itself is blowing up, right?
For sure.
My family's from Pakistan. My grandmother's from India, Delhi. In Pakistan or India, whatever, we all originate from India. Let's be honest for a second, right? Most Pakistanis would not like to hear that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Hardworking people. Patrick Bet-David recently, Patrick Bet-David.
Sure, absolutely.
He recently said on his podcast, he goes like number 1 or number 2 was Indian, number 4, number 5 was Pakistani. It was interesting how hardworking, right? I'm gonna go with that, where I would think you would be a doctor or engineer. Yeah. What happened, buddy?
Yeah, so you sound like a lot of my family, right? Growing up, everybody was like doctor this, doctor that, go to med school, and again, I was on a different path ever since I was young. I was always the hustler, so to say, right? I've always been involved in business, and I love that was my passion, man. I mean, I've said this before. I grew up trading baseball cards, and learned the value of money just through that, and that was my stock market, right? We'd get buy, sell, trade baseball cards, and depending on how the athlete did, the baseball player did, the card would go up. And then I continued on and literally was selling candy out of my backpack in high school, right? So that was it. That was my hustle. So when my family was telling me, hey, you should be an engineer, or you should, and that was back in the emergence of IT, information technology, right? And that software business and everything else was emerging then. So it should have been, right? They had every right to recommend me to be involved in that industry. And in hindsight, who knows? Had I been pursued that path, I would have been
Titan,
somewhere else, or I could have been on the floor. So who knows, right? Hindsight's 20/20. But they did want me to pursue a medical degree and be a doctor, or be in IT, or be an engineer. But I was always had the mindset of wanting to put out. I wanted to be performance based. So the better I perform personally, the more rewarding I would have, like the more reward I get, right? So I always wanted to be in business, and I was pursuing a law degree, believe it or not. So I was pre-law poli-sci with my undergrad, and I got to UCF as a junior and transferred in after my sophomore year, and I'm like, I'm reading all this stuff and reading these big, thick books, man, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is for me. So I entered, declared business as my minor, and then pursued my business career. But, through that whole voyage and journey, right, I was always wanting to pursue the hustle, the closing of deals. That is satisfaction and gratification for me, is when I close a deal. It was just so rewarding far more rewarding than I would have been sitting behind a desk with a tie on, being an attorney representing somebody. So that was kind of my journey, my path. Yeah.
That's interesting. So we have that in common. I was supposed to be a lawyer. I went for my LSAT, did it pretty decent. And my mentor, my sister-in-law, said to me, KB, she goes, I got to know you as I'm working with you and tutoring you. You have an entrepreneur spirit. Like, you sure you don't do that part of your personality? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, law school is my thing. And she goes, listen, I strongly recommend you look into it, because thick books, and man, it's the same thing, man. Something is flipped. I went for my MBA, and we're here, right? It's interesting how life works out. Wow.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got into entrepreneurship officially, a business setup, ready to go to the consumer market?
Great question. I was 21 years old. I graduated UCF, and I was young coming out of college. And my father looked at me. He's like, "Look, if you want to continue this path, I believe in you." And I started a jewelry company right out of college. Didn't have much to go on. Had some great leads and references just based on where my summer job as a kid when I was 16 was at Universal. We opened the park, and when I say I worked for Universal, it wasn't a job of any significance. I was behind the register at the company store, and I got a taste of merchandise then. And prior to that, my father and my grandfather, they were all business people. My father was involved in many businesses, so I love that passion, that hustle that they had. And I come from a lineage of business people. My grandfather, my great grandfather, so I had that in my blood, right? So started my first business as a 21-year-old, right out of college, J Jewelry. My father co-signed a loan for me, and that was a great learning experience. We grew, over 10 years. Took that company public via acquisition, and we got into talk about timing, right? Life's all about timing. And we were at the right place at the right time with the right product, and that's key. So did well with that, and then started Global in 2008.
Wow, merchandising. Let's go back a step. Your father, when you were growing up in LA, was he middle class, upper class?
Yeah, so we were very middle class, upper class, I would say, in LA. And then he sold some businesses when we moved to Orlando and did extremely well with the sale of his company. So that kind of propelled us. I mean, it was very, very modest living in LA. In LA back then, it was a challenge. It was very, very. It wasn't the time of today, right? It was very, very moderate lifestyle. We had to, really couldn't even think about having the finer things in life at that point in my life, right? I was young. High school was good. High school was great. My father did well, and we were very blessed. I was blessed because he was always of the mindset that, listen, I'll get you your car. You don't ever have to worry about money. Just focus on school. Focus on your education. But you want to do something over and above, my father said, listen, I got you. I'll take care of you. You get your allowance. But if you want anything over and above that, I'm not going to get you. You have this amount of budget. You got to go earn it. You got to go work. So I did. So that's when I worked at Universal as a seasonal employee. So
what car do you have in high school?
So I had a Cherokee Jeep. My father got me a Jeep Cherokee, which was my first car.
Mid-level.
It was great. It was a 4x4. Back then it was called a Jeep Limited, and I was thrilled with it. To me, that was my Ferrari. That was it.
Your
back
Maybach.
then. I'm 16 years old, man, and I got a Jeep Cherokee, so it was a big deal to me. And again, but my father's like, listen, I had to get straight A's to get it, which is fine, which I didn't have a problem doing back then. I had no choice. You walk in with a B, my father would whip my ass, right? So, but had got the Jeep, and again that the thing that my father's like, all right, you got this now, right? All right, fine. You want to put gas in it? You go work. You want to get rims? You want to trick the car out? Go work for it. Because I'm not giving you the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So it kind of that was the difference between having something and wanting more and working for that to get more, right? So it was a great learning exercise.
You always hardworking?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had that work ethic in me. I'm always, that was some of the things that I learned from my father when I was young. I mean, he busted his ass. I mean, he would work, man. I mean, he would. It was sun up, sun down, didn't matter. Didn't matter what day of the week it was, even if it was a weekend, take advantage of the weekend time. When I was young, I used to literally see my father working on Saturdays, Sundays, in desk, door shut. And he, and there was, we talk about work and we talk about sacrifices, and that kind of resonates and kind of goes hand in hand with each other. Because my father worked his ass off in order to provide a better life for myself and my mother. But at the same time, there were some sort of sacrifices made, right? Yeah, I didn't get to hang out with him. He didn't even come watch any of my Little League games or any of my soccer games or whatever, right? He just didn't have time. He was working. So again, back to the work ethic, I think a combination of working hard and working smart is relevant. It's funny. I always laugh at people. I'd rather work smarter than harder. Ain't gonna happen, buddy. It just that I don't care who you are, what you know, or where you're from. You got to work hard. Period. End of story. So
That's your perspective.
that is my perspective.
That's so funny you're saying that.
But I think that I think there is a combination. I think working smart is very relevant, but it ain't gonna get. You're never gonna get to where you want to get to by only working smart.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You've got to have discipline. You got to have a rigor and discipline with whatever you do. I'll tell you, you can work smart. You're sleeping in at 10, and it's during the week. You're not waking. Come on, man. I mean, you're sitting at home, working remote or whatever. Fine, that might be working smart, and it could be productive to certain people. And again, I can't talk to anybody else. I'm talking about for me and my experience. You got to have a combination of working hard and working smart, but working hard will ultimately prevail.
This is interesting. I was thinking about it last night, this whole topic, man. Me and my wife were talking about this whole topic, whereas I know the old generation worked really hard. When I say old generation, like our fathers, right, and our grandfathers, the new generation, a lot of us are working from home. It depends on the business. Your business, you can't. I mean, I saw your business, you can't. There's no way. Vic Tippin, I think Vic can work from home either. I mean, he has a huge operation. But some operation you can, IT, if you're doing other stuff. Anyways, interesting. You're the only son.
Yeah.
And you only have one son.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right. Wasn't planned that way at all, but it kind of worked out in hindsight again.
Wow.
It was the best thing ever for me to have an only child. Now, I think for me, I've always wanted a sibling, which is why I relied on my friends and my family. My cousins are like my brothers.
Yeah, same.
I've got, my cousins from my father's side are literally my brothers.
Yes.
I mean, we even to the point where we call each other cousin brothers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, became very close to my family as a result of that, and leaned on a lot of my friends. Some great decisions and great friends, some bad, right? But that's life, right?
Mom and dad relationship, how was that?
It was great. My parents, they're it's an awesome relationship. I mean, I'll tell you, that is a true love story. They got married super young, even to this day. And the epitome of a true love story is the fact that my father's sick. And unfortunately, he suffered 5 strokes between 2020 and 2021 as a result of COVID in 2020 and a result of his health in 21. And unfortunately, he's completely compromised. And, we're very supportive of him. And, my father's my hero, man. And it sucks because he was so active and in the community, and he's a pillar to the community. Talking about a pillar and a true leader, that's him, man. And, to their love story is my mother's still with him every single day.
Beautiful.
Takes care, feeds him just because my father can't feed himself, And
You live here outside of Florida?
They do. My mother lives with me now. I moved her in. My father initially was living with me after, I kind of went through my divorce and all that. And, and again, it's our duty to support our parents.
In our culture especially.
For sure,
right?
For sure. And I suggest that for any culture because,
I agree with
they gave you life, man.
Yeah.
And to me, regardless of any situation, any outcome, they always try to provide for me, right? And for that, I'm forever indebted to them. So my mother lives with me, and built in the process of building her an extension on the house. So she has her own privacy and all that kind of stuff. Her own house within our structure of our home. And my father lives in a care facility right down the street. It just got too cumbersome. When he was with me, it was great. I've got over 100 employees. They're easier to manage than 5 full-time nurses.
Yes.
Like one doesn't show up.
Yes.
My dad's in diapers and completely can't move. He's got one limb that works, and it's his
Oh,
left
wow.
hand, and completely dead weight. So he's hard to handle. And I wouldn't mind at all taking care of him, changing his diapers, cleaning him up, and stuff like that. I've done it, and I don't mind doing it. But I travel for work, and I can't be gone. It's a lot. My mother can't handle him, and so we moved him into a facility down the street and see him every day.
Every day.
It's a pit stop on the way home
That's
from
awesome.
from the office. So
That's amazing. God bless you, man. You're a good son. You got married. What age?
I got married when I was 24.
What to say that? Young.
Young, super young.
Very common in our Indo-Pac culture.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, I got married very young, man. Very young. She was 19. My ex-wife was when we got married.
So hold that thought. How old is your son right now?
He is 21. Just turned
Happy birthday,
21
by
last.
the
Yeah.
Handsome boy.
Thank you, man.
A handsome boy. So imagine you're almost your son's age. Would you imagine yourself telling your son to get married right now?
Oh no. Talk about learning from mistakes or whatever. But
Different generation too, right?
for sure.
You're built different.
Yeah, different way of thought. And again, my case where I wanted to get married, like I told you, I started my business very young, at the age of 21, and with that, you live the fast life. I was starting to make money when I was young. Super young, where, I was fortunate. I lived with after I graduated college, started my business, my family lived between Orlando and Houston. So they had a beautiful home that it was literally mine all alone. I'm a 21-year-old kid, with full of energy. I lived that life, man. I was out all the time, but I was partying, but I worked, right? I'd show up, I'd work. I mean, I'd be out Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday fun day. I think we invented Sunday fun day. And all that, right? And I'd get out occasionally on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, whatever I did, right? I'd go out, party, hang out, go to clubs, bars, lounges, but I'd be back in the office at 8 a.m. the following day.
No question.
No question about it, right? And I'd still manage to work out. Back then, I'd worked out in the evenings. So, I balanced my life. I was very structured in that regard, but I was single, young, and doing well financially with zero obligations as far as mortgages or anything. I had to fill up gas my car, and my cell phone was my only bill that I had besides the clothes that I wore.
What was the first nice car you had? I know you're a car guy.
Yeah. First nice car that I had was an 850i, and then through the course of
BMW.
Yeah, it was a BMW two-door.
Beautiful back
Yeah,
then.
V12.
Oh boy,
Thing was fast, man. Thing was nice.
Boy.
That was back in the mid '90s.
Yes, I
and
remember.
then got a Porsche 911 993 in '95. That was my first car really, at the age of 21, really coming out. So that was my supercar, and then I started, buying more cars because, again, I was making money at a young age that, I just started, had that passion for cars. And my first car was my first exotic was a Lamborghini Gallardo in 2005. Was right after I took my company public, J Jewelry, in transition. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to reward myself.
I let it check out to you, and you deserve.
That was it. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, caught the bug for exotics. So
Yeah, I can tell.
yeah.
You have a Lambo now, right?
I do. Yeah.
Question. So you're doing well, good-looking guy, money. You got married. Was that arranged, or was that a love marriage?
So it was introduced. It was neither. So
hybrid.
It was a hybrid of arranged, introduced marriage. I mean, my ex is distantly related to me, not through blood or anything else, just distantly.
In the village or family, and friends, and connection. And
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We had very, we had common relatives and everything else. And again, I don't regret anything.
Sure.
In life, it's no regrets.
No regrets at all.
No regrets. Right. Okay. Now, had I, in hindsight, made a different decision?
Looking back.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, because I ended up in divorce. Now, I will never trade anything out because life is learning. So we learned a lot. And, to this day, I'll never say anything bad about my ex. She raised my son. She gave me my son. So, no ill will, no, for her, I wish her well. Their life's too short to have any sort of animosity whatsoever. So, and again, having, rewinding back then, I made those right decisions because I wanted to settle down. At the age of 24, I was living the high life, seriously getting out all the time, getting, not doing many good things socially, hanging around, all sorts of different people. Let's just say that. And, and I was like, this is, I realized to myself, even back then, I was like, self-realization. I was like, man,
What am I
I
doing?
don't want to lead this high life. I'm doing well business-wise. I'm structured, but I'm going out all the time, hanging out with all these people that not necessarily are going to motivate me or to do better. Because back then I was like, listen, I don't want to mix business and pleasure.
Yeah.
I want my social life to be, girls and guys and hanging out and
Cool
drinking
people.
and all this cool people.
Quote
and then
unquote.
I'm going to bust my ass on this side and
You
work,
just divide them. Yeah.
divide them up. Right. And I was like, then self-realization came in. I'm like, look, I want to find myself again. I want to slow down. I've been blessed with the business. I want to keep my health. I want to settle down. So that was at a very age. So I learned a lot from 20, even when I was younger than 21, but when I started my business at 21 to the age of 23, 24, I was like just out. It was the high life, man. It was a fast life. I just did not want to live that life anymore. So, which is why I settled down. I'm like, look, I'll get married. So we were introduced, and we spent time together. And like I said, I wanted to find myself, religiously, spiritually. I wanted to find myself, and I did. And those were the decisions that I made at that time. And I don't regret it. So
Entrepreneurship is not easy,
it's not.
right?
It's not.
Not for everyone. Marriage is not easy. I've been married for 14 years. We've been together for 20 years.
Good for you, man.
And thank you. But we opened a business together, as you know, 6-7 months ago. And man, the business, we worked together, and it's been tough. It has been tough. How'd it go, man? Like, where do you think it went wrong? You look back, say, KB, you know what, man? I just think my mind was into business too much, or maybe she didn't understand me. I have a young audience, entrepreneurs. And by the way, I really advocate to find a good girl and start a life, a family structured. For me, maybe it's our Indo-Pak blood we have in ourselves. But even Patrick Bet-David, a lot of conservative entrepreneurs. Vic is a big family guy, right? Yeah. Patrick Bet-David is a big family guy. Ed Milet, all the big gurus. If you say, and just don't get into detail, but summarize, where do you think it went wrong?
Yeah, I think you grow apart, and the thing in my case is that we're very different. And she, I've always been aggressive, go getter, talk about work and work ethic, and again, she thought I was a workaholic, right? And because she didn't understand in the sense of what it takes to get certain places or do certain things, right? Accomplishments, right? Achieves goals. Whereas she was very sheltered, and and that was her. She taught kids, religious, spiritual singing, and again, without going into detail on her or that, but we were very different, and that difference, it worked for many years, but then it came a point in our lives where we just looked and said, it's not working. My goals, my visions are a certain way, and what I want to achieve in my life are certain things, and what she wanted to achieve were very different. Now, mind you, they're not wrong, but they're just different. So because of our differences, we decided to, call it quits.
On a good note?
Look, good note.
Best,
I mean,
the
best that could be. Listen, it is a very challenging thing, right? Divorces are not easy, but in some cases they're worth it. And to me it is, and it was. So, again, no ill will for her. Wish her the best, and we have a great child together. So,
I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
No, nothing's cheap in life. Nothing's cheap in life.
Sanjay, beside the divorce, any setbacks in business?
At the time, again, kind of rewinding, I was going through, we coming out of COVID, right? We started another company, a medical company, and that was great. It was called COVID Testing LLC. We emerged and we did well, and talk about timing, that was it, right? But coming out of it, man, it was challenging because I was going through a divorce, my father being sick, the turmoils and trials and tribulations of a declining business. Listen, majority of my business is to theme parks, attractions, resorts, and service-related companies that it was extinct.
Done.
March of 20, I was like, oh my God, man, this is the light. The world is coming to an end.
Break, stop,
Done.
red light.
Like, you know, what
do we
so
do?
We're navigating through. You got to think about this, right? You're navigating through a furlough. I never even knew what furlough meant. Right? And all these new ways of doing businesses and remote and having
pivot.
this
The word
pivot,
pivot's
the
coming
word
out.
pivot, right?
Pivot.
You know, and again, thank God we pivoted and we did that medical thing. But the challenges that I had on the personal side was way more catastrophic than anything because again, I'm looking at my hero in diapers, pooping in diapers, man. You know, completely compromised, my dad, and I'm going through a divorce, and I've got at that time a teenage kid, right, entering into college, navigating through life himself. Like
Dad itself is such a vulnerable state for your son.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you know, it was definitely challenging, man. I mean, there was just a ton of challenges, roadblocks, but again, I love perseverance. I like, you know, coming out on the other side and looking back and saying, hey, those were challenges, but guess what? I got through it.
Got through it.
And life is challenges. And I share this with my son all the time. I'm like, look, you know, you're always going to be having roadblocks. You are never, ever going to have an easy life, whether it be professionally, whether it be financially, right? With anything that you do, you have to choose a path. You have to pursue the path, knowing that you are going to have limitations. But what do you do? What do you do to get past that? How are you going to get past that? And when you do get past that, that's when you're going to be strong, man. You strengthen yourself. So that is to me, and these are the things that I teach my son. I'm like, look, these are the trials and tribulations that are going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. What do you do to overcome them?
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Your son, I saw you got him a Lambo.
No, we share cars, man.
Okay, I was to say.
No. Yeah,
I'm like, I thought it was a gift for him.
He better be lucky with his G wagon. I'll tell you that.
That video I saw, and so I think it was his social media. Yours, it was like the dealership. You guys walking in.
Yeah. So yeah, we
awesome.
We build cars together. We have fun doing it because
awesome.
he likes exotic cars as well, and we spec them out together, and that's our thing. You know, but they're sending. You better believe they're sending my garage with me holding the key. Yeah.
Is he an entrepreneur?
He is, man. He started his own business, Global Medical Supplies.
Oh my God.
Super proud of him, man. He's on his way, and
He works?
again,
Is he focused?
he's focused, man. He's at the office right now. We're sitting here doing this show, and he's sitting at the office literally right now and hustling. So no, he is very focused and dedicated. I love seeing the side of him. You know, and again, hopefully he'll be successful, and I think he will be. But if he does fail, it will be a learning exercise. Because, you know, look, at the end of the day, I've got him no matter what, for life. I want him to learn and understand certain things, certain situations, without me telling him this is to do this and don't do this. I want him to learn. So he's having fun, man, and he's doing well. He's opening a lot of doors. He's you know, pursuing different clients and everything else. I'm super proud of him.
How do you? I have two daughters. I have 7 and 6. First year of school today. Dropped them off. I come from a really poor background. My mom was on welfare. My dad left. Food stamps. Our apartment was probably this smaller than this. Brooklyn, New York, and my mom was able to spoil me whatever she had. And I think that backfired a little bit, you know, growing up. My kids are spoiled, as you can imagine. How do you recommend young entrepreneurs, like middle-aged entrepreneurs with kids, to raise good kids, but taking care of them, let them drive the Lambo, G-Wagon, whatever you're doing, at the same time have value for money, value for time? Talk about that, Sanjay.
You know, I think that is the biggest balance in life is how do you not spoil your kid? Yeah. All of our kids are spoiled to a degree, okay? They all have more than, and that's because we were raised in a different time, in a different era, right? Yes. Where we had limitations. It wasn't that I can go out and buy whatever I wanted. When I was in LA in a 2,200 square foot house, 4-bedroom house, my father, my mother, myself, you know, it wasn't I couldn't just go and get a car. Sure. I couldn't go do certain things, right? And yeah, you talk about this you hear about this all the time with humble beginnings, right? But again, when you're in a position where you don't have those limitations, you have to treat it very differently. Sure. And for instance, my son, you know, in my case, and again, I can't speak to anybody else's. In my case, I'm like, look, go to school, do not get in trouble, have fun, but give me those grades. You know, he was an IB kid at Windermere Prep and did extremely well. Didn't go to public school because I didn't want him wrapped up, because I saw that. I went to Dr. Phillips High School, which I love, by the way. No knock on public schools at all, but for him and the way he was raised and the way his nature and his mannerisms were, I really geared him towards private school. Now, I think that, you know, getting him and not spoiling him was a balance, but it was all recourse, right? It was all you do certain things and you'll get certain rewards, right? And consequences. You screw up, guess what? You give me your key, man. You're not going to be driving.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are some of the things, and it's the hardest thing in life, man, with kids, is because you want to give them the world, man, because that's your legacy,
Natural.
that's your life,
Yes.
it's your blood.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. That's who you are, right? So, but you've got to really have that balance.
You know, you heard the other type of stories too, right? People with your type of wealth will say, no, you're not getting nothing from me. You go out there, earn everything. But I think you're soft. You're a softie. We talked about it before with Ian. Even with your fiance, will bring it to her. I think you are an alpha, you said. You work out every day. I hear about you working out every day. Tough guy in business for 20, 30 years now.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to your fiance and your son, you're a softie.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, they
He has a smile on his face.
no doubt, no doubt. Both of them are the loves of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're you know, when it comes to my son, for sure. You know, I'm soft to a certain extent, where, you know, again, I want to give him those finer things in lives, but I want him to work for it.
Sure.
Clearly evident. He's sitting in my office right now. So, and the moment he stops, then guess what? The finer things go away. Like, it's
I
not,
like that.
you know, I love you. That doesn't change.
I'll never stop.
But am I going to continue to do the things that, you know, it's all about what you deserve. As far as my fiance, man, she's great. She it's been the biggest blessing in life. Talk about soulmates, man.
Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's another thing. When I first saw you social media, I jumped on your social from that basketball story into your page and saw this amazing proposal you did.
Yeah.
International.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about her. So what's her name?
Her name is Sarah Solomon.
Where'd you meet Sarah?
So we met at the London House. It was crazy. She was going through a divorce, and as was I, and mine was about to finalize. Met her, and she was sitting with her friend, Dr. Rode, which is a great human being herself, and you know, it was one of those things where we connected on social, and you know, we met at London House, and the bartender at London House was like, "Hey, Sarah, you should meet Sanjay." And Sarah's like, "Who's Sanjay? Why do I need to meet him?" And Drew, his name, we call him Cupid.
Yeah.
Connected us, and you know, the story goes on. But amazing love story, man. And you know, I truly believe that it's you know, it was not only timing, but you know, people are meant to be together in certain places and certain times. And it was, you know, call it all that corny stuff. When, you know, coming in before I met Sarah, I was like, what, destiny, soulmate? I'm like,
Nothing.
what is that?
What is that?
What is that's bullshit? Like, why? What is that? But after I met Sarah, man, we definitely, she calls it, she manifested me, and I kind of manifested her, and the story goes on. So it's,
You look kind of. You manifest.
yeah,
her,
for sure. She's
I met her. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Just
thank
when the first time you see her, you talk to her, humble soul. You can tell she's so sincere. She looks you in the eye, and you could tell the person is coming from a good place. You know, you're a very blessed man. She's blessed to have you. London House, we met there one time.
That's right.
Our real mutual friend named John.
Yeah.
London House, interesting. It's a members only restaurant / lounge.
Yeah.
Interesting. You met her there. Okay. How you got divorced, you're probably kind of a little bitter. How did you know? Did you feel something? Say, this is the direction I should go into.
Yeah, you know, when I met her, you know, I felt that this, you know, I wasn't going into this relationship at all coming out of a very long marriage and a divorce. You know, I wasn't pursuing my next, you know, thing. But after I met her, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool, man. And prior to that, I was, you know, dating around, messing around, seeing, you know, girls and going on dates. And I'm like, you know, that was a waste of time. I was like, you know, at the moment I met her, I wasn't even thinking about, and I still don't. I don't even think about other women. Like, it's one of those things that we connected. We connected spiritually. We connected emotionally. We connected mentally. So when talk about ticking all those boxes in a relationship, that's what ours is. So it was pretty cool, pretty gratifying.
What does she do?
She owns a company by the name of Solomon Productions. She's the CEO of Solomon Productions, where they do content creation, content management, social media marketing. She does extremely well. She produces events and conferences and so forth. And,
Travels all the time.
Travels all the time. And she's got a great team.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of conferences throughout the country and throughout the world. She's been overseas.
We're here right now in our studio.
Yeah.
Beautiful studio, by the way. Yeah. How is it to be in a relationship with another entrepreneur?
It's great, man. You know, look, we're both alphas, which is great. But she gives me my space, and you know, we've got a great balance in our relationship. You know, we both have passion. We both have a lot of energy. We're thinking about and talking about events. We're talking about how we can make ourselves and our companies and the people that work for us better. So our conversations are very different. And for me, it was refreshing because I never had that ever, and I don't think she did either. So and that's what really propels our relationship. And you know, there's never a dull moment at all, because we're very social, and we go out and have great relationships with other couples and other friends, and now we're unified because we got engaged, and you know, to me it was great because she was well raised just like me. We have very commonalities as it relates to how our upbringing was. She's of Egyptian descent, born in Montreal, raised in South Florida, where I had an Indian descent. Even though I was born in the States, I lived in India for 2 years of my life when I was very young. So picked up the language, the religion, the culture, and everything else. And I think that we have that very common in ourselves. And like I said, her parents are awesome, her brother's awesome. So it's more family. So it just feels great. So our relationship is very unique because, man, I'll tell you, talk about destiny, like I said earlier, and that soulmate thing. It is what it is. That is truly it. But you know, going back, she's a leader. She's dominant in her industry, which I love. I'm her biggest fan, and she's my biggest fan, which is great. So we work well together too.
You guys fight?
You know, not often at all. And when we do, it's funny because we'll fight, we'll bicker, and then we'll look at each other and like, what are we doing? Is this real? Like, and then we'll laugh it off. Like it's funny.
Do you think that's because you guys have met in a different phase of your life, maybe?
I think so. You know, she was married. I was married. We'd been through those challenges and those situations. You know, we both have common goals, which is super important. I think, you know, for the listeners and for the viewers out there, I think that is very, very important for you guys to establish your goals. You know, you have to get structure in your lives, and for us, we talk about that all the time. So, you know, we have very really interesting and great and gratifying, rewarding conversations, and never a dull moment ever.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can see you guys social media, man. You're on the couch just joking around, and
our banter is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I tune in social media.
She puts me in my place, man.
Really?
There's no doubt about it. She will be the first one to put me in my place.
Your woman does.
And I'll put her in her place too. But you know, I'm not really used to having that
from a woman
put me in my place. And she does. I think she enjoys it too.
She
definitely enjoys it.
We're gonna have dinner soon as a couple.
Sure,
we're gonna break into that. We'll do a podcast again. We'll do a power couple podcast. Law of attraction. I'm a big believer. I'm a Muslim by faith, but I came across law of attraction many years ago, and I used it especially after my stroke. I'm there in bed, my hand, nothing's working. I'm just sitting there praying to God, visualizing what I want to do if I get another chance in life, and I'm doing everything and more, and still more to do. Do you believe in law of attraction, manifestation, and visualizing?
I do. I do now. I didn't before.
Interesting.
After I met Sarah and heard her manifestation and her thinking and visualizing what she wanted to see and do and experience, now I do. And I think that, you know, again, there is always a side of me have always believed in setting your goals forward and making sure these are the things that you manifest in your brain, and to visualize, to see it, the outcome, right? So those are things that I've believed in for sure.
Do you look back and say, wait a minute, you know what? I had a picture of Lamborghini in my room, my office. And 15 years later, I got a 10 whatever business.
For sure, man. For sure. I had listen, back in the day, I had my Countach picture. It was in my bedroom wall in L.A. and I had a Rolls Royce picture as well. And I was like, one day I want to get that. And honestly, that was a driving factor when I did get my first Gallardo in 2005. I was like, man, good. Then I got my first Phantom in 2010. Those were like, I had posters of those cars on my wall.
Way
man.
back.
And there was no way I thought to myself,
You were to manifest it.
there was nothing stopping me. There was nothing stopping me. I'm going to get those cars. I'm going to get those cars.
You had it in your mind back then, the vision and everything.
That's right.
And the work.
That was my path. I'm going to work hard in order to get that.
So that's the one thing the law of attraction that misses and the gurus and the speakers miss about. They don't talk about as much in law of attraction. You could visualize everything because you could sit there, have intention, you could meditate, pray. But the law of action, you have to put the work in.
For sure.
And in my experience, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, if you have the intention and you want it bad enough, the universe will come. If you take the first step, the door is open. Mm-hmm. Are you a big Bollywood guy at all? A little bit.
Bollywood guy. Yeah, man. I was in one movie when I was younger, and it was called Das Avataram, and it was Kamal Hassan. It was a South Indian movie.
What a legend.
Yeah, he's definitely a legend. It was a treat for me to act next to him. I was in the movie for 12 minutes or whatever it was, but it was a good experience, and it was one of those things that I modeled a little bit when I was younger, and I was decent looking back then. And
good guy now, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah. But yeah, so it was cool. But I don't watch Bollywood just because it just takes 4. I don't have 4 hours to dedicate to a movie.
So, but Kamal Hassan, man, he's a legend.
He is, man. He's
still there.
He's still there. He's still putting it in.
The reason I brought up Bollywood is Shah Rukh Khan. He talks about. I'm a big fan of his. I'm not a big fan of his movies as much, but I'm a fan of his as a personality. Yeah. Came from nothing. Yeah. From nothing, and he's just still the king, right? And he talks about it, how things he had saw the house he's living in, the awards, the stardom, but he said I worked my butt off, and still to this day, if you ask, like he shot a movie here a few years ago. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, for sure.
My friend was on the production set. She said, man, till this day, he is the hardest working person on the set.
Yeah, I mean the guy's amazing, right? And a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's done extremely well, obviously. Needless to say, I mean, he's one amongst the biggest actors in the world. Globally, right? And but he puts his time in, and I love his way of thought. I love his mentality. He's married to a Hindu wife, by the way.
Yes, he is.
And he
made it work.
Yeah, they made it work, and they are not allowing religion to get in their way. And I'm a firm believer in that as well. Again, everybody has a right to their own God and their own facet and the way they're viewing or
connection,
or how their connection. Right? I'm born Hindu. Right? I practice Hinduism. Mm-hmm. I'm also very spiritual. Yes. But I also believe that all roads lead to one highway.
I agree with you.
And some of my best friends in the world are Muslim. Yes. Some of the best friends in my world are Jewish, right? So I've got atheist friends, and they've got their own right. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in their view. However, I've got atheist friends. But, again, I think that all roads lead to one highway.
I agree with
and Shah Rukh Khan, going back to him, he's done an amazing job of not only in his craft and his art, but the way of life.
Yeah, Shah Rukh Khan gets a lot of slack for marrying Hindu. At the same time, a lot of people appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I appreciate the same thing, man. Look, one thing I was very blessed with, Sanjay, my grandmother who raised me, my dad left, my grandmother jumped in our house and raised me. She was from India, and the whole partition happened. Yeah. The one thing about her, and God bless her soul, she's no longer with us, she taught me was Hindus are amazing, Sikhs are amazing. And she taught me really early on that there's a lot of racism in both countries still against other religions.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, but it's gonna happen. There's that degree of separation even to this day. Whether it's even in the U.S. Unfortunately, you hear it, you see it. Overseas in Gaza, talk about the epitome of wow, that's 100%. On another level, yes. Right? And unfortunately, humans are victims. And with one belief and somebody else's other belief, right? And to me, I think it's the most asinine thing in the world. It doesn't matter what your views are. Keep it to yourself. Don't involve humanity. you're eliminating kids on both sides. I'm not saying one
Yeah.
side's right.
Right,
It's
right.
never,
Exactly.
never, right. And so it's unfortunate, and unfortunately, but hopefully, I think those days are getting better
I agree with you.
versus worse. I'm of a mindset that humanity, it will always prevail, right? Unification will always prevail. The good will always prevail. I'm raising my kids believes the same way. There's not a prejudice bone in my body or my kid's body.
That's amazing.
Because he was not raised that way. It doesn't matter. No matter religion, race, creed,
Doesn't matter.
sexual preference, whatever it
your
is.
thing.
Yeah.
I hear stories from my friends from India that moved to America. They're like, man, look, on Eid, we had our Hindu friends coming over and saying, hey, Eid Mubarak. And on Diwali, we used to go to their house
That's awesome,
and
man.
give out sweets and be part of this thing. It's beautiful. I haven't gone to India. I went to Pakistan once or twice. India, I'm dying to go. One day I definitely want to go and check it out. The last time you went to India?
Oh man, it's 2017. I love the country, man. And now after I got divorced, it was rough for me. I couldn't face my family because it's such a taboo. I'm the first divorcee in my entire family. First person that got divorced.
From your mom's side or dad's side? Or both sides?
Both sides. Both sides. First and only to this day.
Wow.
So, look, that's what it was hard for me to go face my family, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. To me, my uncle is my second father, my dad's brother, my aunt, my dad's sister, and I'm very close with my mom's brother, my mom's sister, and all that stuff, and my cousins. But a lot of that, why I got engaged in March, or some of the reasons why I got engaged, I'm like, look, I want to go back to India. I want to face my family, but I'm not going to take my girlfriend, Sarah, and go face my family. So now we're engaged. Now it's a different story, right?
Connection.
So now we're planning on going. It's a
amazing.
beautiful country, man. And,
It is.
And
It's come a long way.
It has, man. It's emerging.
A long
and
way.
Just a lot of things to do. A lot of great food.
Yes.
Great music, and the culture's phenomenal. Yeah, it's great. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to take Sarah there.
What's your son's name?
Sai.
Sai. Is he cultured?
He is, man. He is to a degree. I think as cultured as you can be. He still has some of his mom in him, who is very, very religious and cultural, right? And so he is, but he's not over. I wouldn't say he's not the kid that goes to the temple every week. But does he go to the temple on special events, special occasions? Absolutely,
yeah.
Diwali and stuff like that, right?
How was it for Sai? I'm from a divorced family. Single. I was the only child to my mom and dad. My parents got split when I was 5. How old was Sai when you guys split officially?
We waited till he was 18. So we were separated. We did the right thing. My ex and I, we were going through some issues. It really started when Sai was 14, 15. And then we chatted and we're like, look, we'll be separated in the same house, didn't sleep in the same bed, nothing, separated on the other sides of the house. And we were very cordial, right? We made it work for him. So we waited till he was 18 in order to start and settle. And he's 21 now. So it's been 3 years. So, it was rough, but we were separated, and he kind of understood and he kind of knew, but we didn't tell him. There's only so much we could say. Your dad snores too loud, right? And which is why we're sleeping away from each other. But, we made it work at the right time with him being the number one priority.
Wow.
So it was our sacrifice. It was a 4-year sacrifice, but it's okay.
It's okay.
It was well worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah.
You guys talk now?
Yeah. Very, very rarely, but
Cordial?
yeah, we're cordial.
Holidays at all?
Yeah. No ill will at all.
Okay.
No ill will.
Interesting.
Life's too short, man.
God bless you
That's it.
I can keep going on this. I could probably do a part 2 in the future. Your daily habits. You're successful. You're disciplined. You have an amazing operation. Beautiful fiance. It's handsome son. This doesn't come easy. What keeps it together? What do you do on a daily basis? What do you recommend to entrepreneurs looking at you? I look up to you, man. I salute you. You're inspiration to me.
Thank you.
So many ways. Your boy, Vic. Y'all just, I swear, again, go back to social media. If I didn't have social media, I would not meet you. I would not know Vic. Like, the inspiration y'all bring to me as family men, as leaders of communities, as business owners, it's amazing. I want you to share those gems with my audience.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think, for all the listeners and viewers out there, I think, it's rigor and discipline are the two most important things in life. And one connotates and resonates with each other. So in my case, my daily habits are, I wake up super early. I'm in the gym at 5:30 a.m., right? I get it in. I get my weight training in and do my cardio. I plan out my day. Got 20 minutes of cardio. Get to make my schedule. I got to meet with this person, that person, schedule out my day, send out emails, whatever, right from the treadmill. And then I go home, shower up, and then meditate and pray and, for not only myself, obviously, for everybody and all the things that matter most to me. So, in my meditation, it's one of those things that, when you're praying, you're asking God for something. When you're meditating, you're listening to God. So it's pretty cool, and that's one of those facets that I've always practiced. So it's something that I pride myself in doing. I don't boast or tell people what to do or how to do it. If somebody asks, I'll share my wisdom with them. But I'm not one to go, hey, you need to do this, do that to be successful. No, if it works for me, and I can only guide you and tell you that it works for me. But if you want to do that and you want to practice it and it works for you, fantastic, man. I feel the self of accomplishment. But do that, then I'm in the office. I'm in the office at 8 a.m. and leave at 7 p.m. or whenever it takes. There's no stopwatch, on it. And that's what true test to entrepreneurs out there and business leaders and guys that are professionals, man. There's no punch in and punch out. There is no time clock. There is no 40-hour weeks.
You still have to be there that long?
I do. I choose to be there that long.
To be there.
I choose to. So, and again, I get a lot done. And I get more done when people are out of the office. We've got so much going on. As you saw, we have different departments within my organization. I have different divisions within my organization. So there's just a lot. I mean, I'm looking at, three sets of P&Ls every month. And when we're diving in, digging in deeper, my goal is to have everything performing at an exceptional level. So that takes time, it takes planning.
You plan your week ahead of time?
I do. Everything's scheduled out. I mean, everything blocks. For me, blocks. I love Microsoft Outlook, man. That's my biggest saving grace. Keeps me in check. Everybody's like, you need an assistant. You need this. No, I don't. I don't need a virtual assistant or an assistant. Yeah. I got Outlook, baby. Yeah. Come on. I got chimes in on my cell. What else do you need?
It's so funny. We did a podcast. We booked it, and you suddenly sent me an invite. And me and Sarah booked our dinner.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Simon was right next to me. Simon goes, she regularly booked it. I go, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's what people do. Me and Simon are the same way. We put on, if you don't have it in calendar, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Right?
Doesn't work. You got to be organized. That goes back to a sense of being organized. Have to be meticulous.
100%.
Structured. Those are all kind of adjectives that resonate to me and myself, my brand, who I am, my son, etc. And to everybody that's listening and seeing this, they should be structured, man.
You have to. Sanjay, any final words for my audience? Where can we find you, number one?
So find me on social, Instagram, Sanjay Sam Sri, CEO. And, again, LinkedIn, all my social profiles are up. I was private, but until a couple of months ago, I was opened up my public platform. So
if you're a company, small, medium, large company, and you want cups, T-shirts, hats.
Yeah. So we brand. We help drive brands. If you've got a local business, it's a restaurant, car dealership, a med spa. Or a medical facility, we can help with your uniforms, your branding, your giveaways, pens, mouse pads. But our strength is building platforms and merchandise collections to the theme parks, attractions, and resorts. You go into any souvenir store or any theme park merchandising store, you'll find our product. So headwear, hats, drinkware, all these big, we call them the Stealth, not the Stanley, the Stealth, the 40-ounce tumblers and so forth. Is we manufacture those.
Dude, what an operation! What operation!
Thank you.
Amazing. I'm gonna come back with my videographer and shoot that, man.
Absolutely.
That's amazing stuff.
Love to have you,
Sanjay. Thank you for your time. You're a busy man. The fact that you've been so open. You text me right away. I want to say thank you for that too. You're quickly to text back. Listen, man. I'm a new podcaster, new entrepreneur. You're so humble and you're so welcoming. It means a lot to me, man.
I appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I love your message. Congratulations on your success and the fact that you've been through all these trials and tribulations and you're talking about it now, talking and sharing your story is uplifting, man. And keep it up. And the viewers and the listeners should be super happy and intrigued with what you have to say and your message and your continuing messages.
Thank you, Sanjay. And tomorrow when you pray for Noor and pray for my family as well.
Absolutely will.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.